Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're talking about the one, the only beautiful Exian. Now, listen, that might make some people mad. And this is what I'm going to discuss in this video and the price analysis and other things as well. So we can see, Onyx, however you want to pronounce it, Exian, right, said with the Onyx Goliath testnet now live, it's time to participate. And we can see this post came out and people are upset under the comments. By the time you folks get your act together, your community will have long since abandoned you, right? We could see, boom, the chart does not look pretty, right? You never really want to see a chart that kind of starts from the top and kind of just goes down and flat lines like this. Although there is technically a recovery in the last couple of months, sorry. So people are clapping back. I wonder what this says, but I think people are just thinking everything is fine, but why is price so low? If you bring the price to a good level, there would be no need for these anyways. So it's really funny that people think that these projects have 100% of the control over the prices, right? Here's the deal, people. We have a lot of projects actually down a lot since they came out, or just in the last couple of months compared to the last couple of months, right? When we go to something like Render, dude, Render, right? This thing was at one point at 13 bucks, at 10 bucks, at 11 bucks, right? Boom. Okay. Look how high it was. Look where it is now. Go to something, I mean, like Myro. Yes, Myro is a meme coin, etc. Yada, yada, yada. But look, right? Myro at one point was at 44 cents. Look at Jasmine. Jasmine at one point in November was almost at 6 cents. Now it is less than a cent. Caspa was roughly at 20 cents. Now it's at 5 cents. You get the point, right? You guys get the point. Flux at one point, I mean, at one point it was all the way up here too, but it is down here now. So that's the thing, people, right? This is not necessarily an Exian type of issue. Um, Obviously, this is not the most ideal market structure, but to be fair, they did literally kind of come out in the worst time because I'm pretty sure in May 2022, if I remember correctly, this was kind of when like the whole market started to die, right? Like the 2022 really started to die. And it wasn't until like 2023 where we saw some type of flatline sideways movement and reversals for most altcoins, right? We could see we had a little bit of reversals for 2023. Then 2024, nothing crazy happened until 2025. That is when Exian really exploded. And now we have been correcting ever since. But we can see, right? People are just upset. What's good with the price manipulation? The Exian community is getting frustrated. What other projects adoption is Exian working on? Right? Staking, let's go. Points. Don't miss this. Governance. Been pissed for months. Nobody cares, right? A lot of people are upset. And I get it. I understand. But like I did just say that Exian has had an insane pump in 2025, right at the beginning of it. If we take it roughly from the bottom to the top, that alone is almost 2000%. And then if you were buying anywhere in the range, let's just say somewhere from the middle of the range, and we take it to here, you would have had upwards of 30 times, right? 30 times your money. And if you bought it somewhere at the bottom of the range, let's just say even here, right? Because you could have bought it down here, you could have had upwards of 77 times your money. So that's the thing, right? Exian had its moment and now it's correcting, and people are very upset because they probably thought Exian, like when it was over here, they thought Exian was probably going to go to 10 cents, 15 cents, 20 cents, a dollar, but that's not always the case. And it's not that it can never hit this price in the future. It's that in the short term, there needs to be corrections, right? There just needs to be corrections. So with that being said, ultimately, I do believe that Exian will be coming back down to at least to the 5 well, not even 5 cents, 0.0057 to the 0.0025. This is going to be the next range because there is imbalance here, right? Imbalance is practically when a market goes up too fast or too down. Goes up too fast or goes down too fast. And then it kind of does, leave a gap and it doesn't have proper market structure, right? And when that happens, the market makers are not happy. And that is just the truth, right? That is just the truth. If you are a trader and you know some of these terms, then you know that I would be correct in this scenario. So this is ultimately where I'm looking to see Exian really retrace, bounce back. We could see when Exian did have some imbalance down here. Look, this got corrected right back in 2023. Well, it didn't get corrected in 2023. It actually got corrected in August. We can see we tapped into it. We filled up all of the imbalance. And then what happened shortly after that, right? August, it was going sideways. September was going sideways. October was going sideways. Sure, it took another 3 more months. But then after that, I mean, pretty much we never went lower than that point. So this is kind of the same thing that I expect with Exian. I kind of expected at least probably to go down to the 0.003 or between that and the 0.004, somewhere there for it to peak in terms of the bottom price. And then that's when I expected to start really, really reversing. We still have roughly 2 months left until the end of 2025. And I really do expect for this area to get corrected. If it doesn't get corrected in 2025, it probably will just get corrected in the January, right? That would also make a lot of sense. All right, just quick little tap in, maybe possibly even sweep the zone over here, right? Taking out the 2025 liquidity candle. So like I said, it could go a little bit lower. But yeah, this is it, right? This is just a truth. I know you might not want to hear this, but this is where the reversals are going to be. Okay, this is where the reversals are going to be. But look, let me show you something, right? And now this might make people upset depending on how you take it. But look, I'll show you ICP. Okay, ICP surged from pretty much, let's just say less than $3 to upwards of over $9 in a span of a week. Now, here is the deal, people, right? ICP is having this unique type of price action because look what happened, right? We took out the literal final bottom zone of ICP. And then what happens after that, right? The next month, November, it starts to surge up. And here's the deal. This is going to happen with Exian when it's time to go up. At the end of the day, this is all up to the market makers, right? This is all up to the market makers. This is not up to me. It's not up to you. It's not up to anyone else. This is up to the market makers. And, ICP had nowhere else really to go, right? It didn't. It in the bigger time frame, it just took out these zones, right? It kind of created a decent support right over here. Boom. Right. We talked about this off for ICP. And then we can see we had a huge surge. And something like that's going to happen with Exian. Now, the context of Exian is a little bit different because I don't think we're necessarily going to be taking out all these bottoms as that's really, really low. But for the context of Exian, it is to be filling up this whole bar, right? It is to be filling up this whole bar. So, you know, it is what it is, but I'm just being honest. I'm being, truthful right now. In this zone is where I would start to expect for us to start seeing reversals. And once we do, like I showed with ICP, it's just going to be really, really fast. Exian might be down at these prices for the next 2 months, but then by the time, February, March hits in 2026, we might be back all the way, up to these zones, and that's just the truth. That is just how fast crypto goes. Remember, for something like ICP right now, right? This thing, it's not even altcoin season. It's not even altcoin season. The markets are generally red. Generally speaking, altcoins are bleeding. But we can see because of the context of what ICP went through and how there's no more downwards area, it just decided to go up. The market maker said, okay, we're done. We're done going down. We're going to start going up. And even in these horrible conditions is going up. So that's the thing, people. Do not get discouraged with Exian. As long as Exian is in the system with the institutions, it is getting manipulated the proper way. I expect Exian to have a nice cycle. I overall still expect Exian to be hitting upwards of 10 billion market cap, which at this point would be roughly a 40x from here. Now, you may disagree with me. You might think that is crazy. But like I just said, ICP is the prime example, right? ICP is the prime example. We will look at the holders to end everything off, and we overall will look at the basic information. We rank 162 out of 9,320 active cryptos, 38% in the last month. We are down. We're down 20% in the last week. And in the last day, we're up a little bit more than 1%, almost 2%. When we go and look at something like this, we can see the holders are consistently growing. So that is good, right? That is good when people, when you see a crypto project go consistently down for some time, but the holders are growing, that usually means a lot of people have faith and they expect Exian to do really, really well this cycle. That is ultimately it, ladies and gentlemen. Still no Binance or some other exchanges, but that's okay, as I do expect Binance to be getting listed, one day, probably in 2026, when there's a lot of hype and a lot of things happening. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.